Okay, everyone, I think we're ready. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope everyone's enjoying ice cream. I'm very, very happy that we have an ice cream talk. So to give you an idea of what these talks are and kind of where they're coming from, this is the pilot. We call it the Career Paths program. The aim of these talks is to help undergraduate students in English develop a career path for themselves before graduation, to help people start sort of tailoring their degrees before they're kicked out the door kind of thing. The idea is to allow English undergraduate students to take control of their futures earlier by choosing courses, co-op placements, volunteer experiences, general strategies that will maximize their chances of success in the professional fields covered by these talks, while also giving them a better understanding of what to expect in the professional field once they get out there, and they can make their kind of own choices. For each talk, we present a featured speaker in a position of prominence within the field to give us a sense of what employers and decision makers are looking for. And a recent graduate of our program who has made headway into the exact same field, someone who can put things into a nicely familiar perspective for our students. And today we are very, very pleased to have these guests with us today. So I'll start by introducing. On my far right, we have Alan Corey. Alan is the chairman of Corey, an elite marketing agency based out of nearby St. Jacobs, whose clients include John Deere, eBay, Sun Life Financial, and Purolator, to name just a few. Alan is also a lecturer with the Wilfrid Laurier School of Business and the host of the popular YouTube show AQ's Blog and Grill, Fast Food for Thought on Branding and Entrepreneurship. Sarah Rodriguez, next to me here, is an advertising coordinator with Skyline, a Guelph-based group of companies that specializes in real estate investment and boasts property holdings in excess of $1 billion. Sarah graduated from UW with a degree in English language and literature before completing a postgrad in marketing from Conestoga College just last year. And I think maybe the best way to get us started a little bit here is to ask each of them in turn. Alan, if you'd start us out, what led you to want to work in the field of marketing and advertising?
Marketing and advertising. Well, two quick things, Andrew. First of all, marketing is dead, so don't bother studying it. Okay, the 4 Ps are gone, and the USP, which is the unique selling proposition, is DOA. Okay, so if you're thinking about going into marketing, by the time you get there, it'll be changed. And advertising is gone too, because the internet came along and changed the whole ecosystem. So really, everything is now about branding, and it's about the customer. And so really, if you're in the arts program, if you're getting your English degree or a variation thereof, you're in a great position to move forward in the branding and customer experience business, which is now emerged. It's not waiting to emerge, it's already there. So take that into account, that an English degree, which is what I have, has led me to all sorts of great places. And I got into the business, frankly, as a writer, and then became a little bit of everything. So I think it's great.
Okay. And what drew you to it initially?
Well, my father was in the advertising and marketing business as I was growing up, so I kind of was reading Advertising Age, which is kind of the Bible of this business, in my before I turned into a teenager. So I was reading Archie comics and Ad Age at the same time. So it always interested me, and I never wanted to go into business with my father because we didn't get along. This was the 60s and 70s, so there was a lot of conflict at home. I did end up graduating finally. I was at 3 universities, including this one, in a 6-year period. And when I finally graduated from Western, I went into the marketing department at Canada Trust, their head office in London. And I was hired as a writer. And within 2.5 years, I was managing the guys that hired me. And that was an awkward situation that we really had to straighten out. We needed to have some rules of engagement because I was the youngest department manager in the head office environment, and I had an English degree, and all these other guys had business degrees. So it didn't hold me back.
And was your English degree part of your initial strategy, or were you kind of finding your way upon graduation?
No, I think it was part of my strategy, Andrew, because I had such respect and regard for my high school teachers that I thought, well, I'll go into teaching. That's what I'll end up doing. And then this other marketing job came along, and they needed people to write things, and they needed to have people come up with, use my imagination to come up with promotions and campaigns. And before you knew it, I was doing it from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And my nickname at the head office, which was about 1,000 people, was Lone Wolf, because, well, you know, what's he thinking of today? It got to the point, actually, that the president and CEO of Canada Trust, which was to become TD Canada Trust, would come from his office on the 21st floor down to my office on the 17th floor to sit around. And that was pretty heady stuff when I was a kid. And but again, it's about your imagination and what you want to contribute, and can you make your ideas resonate? There's really 3 things to think about in this business, and that is relevance. Does it mean something to someone? Resonance. Does it strike an emotional chord? Is it empathetic? And now, of course, it's real time. Like, it used to be you could mount campaigns, 2 campaigns a year or whatever. Now this business is 365 days a year and 360 degrees around the customer. So if I was starting off again, I would tilt my hat towards brand journalism, because journalists know how to tell stories. And I would also like a minor in anthropology, because you really have to get into the ethnographics, the anthropology of brands and how they connect with customers. It's so damn exciting. I can't wait to get up in the morning. This business is the most fun you can have with your clothes on. I'm done.
All right, and Sarah, same question.
So I did my first 2 years of university. I started out in arts and business co-op, and then it was arts and business regular, and then it was just arts, because the whole thing was, I was trying to work 35 hours a week and come to school. It just collapsed. And then I worked full-time here at the university, actually, for about 5 years. And then I came back for my final 2 years of university. I did 4 terms straight. Don't do that. And it wasn't until I guess it would technically be my 4A term, although I call it like 10-7C or whatever. But I took 408B, this course of advertising. At that point, I had no idea what I was going to do with my English degree. I was actually considering becoming an accountant. So I know. So I realized in that class, and even though it was at 8:30 in the morning, I realized in that class that marketing and advertising was where I wanted to go. So I spent the next 2 terms sort of taking every class I could that I thought would even be remotely relevant. So I took, I think it was Econ 344 is the marketing one through the economics department, rhetoric of digital design, quite a few other ones, computer science courses as well. And I also learned HTML and CSS5, or HTML5 and CSS, sorry. And then when I graduated, I was ready to apply for marketing and advertising jobs. But I decided that I was going to do postgraduate education instead. There's an 8-month, really intensive program at Conestoga College in Integrated Marketing Communications. It's a post-grad diploma program. And that I just did the 8 straight months. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but when I was finished, I was really ready for a job. But it was definitely my English skills that's how I got hired on where I am right now, because it is primarily writing that I do. So.
Excellent. So, Alan, I've been looking at the Corey website and watching the YouTube blog. It is the most spectacular website I've seen in a very long time. One of the things that I really enjoyed was the part of the Corey brand was a sense of playfulness, which actually corresponds to, I mean, what we're kind of trying to do with our department now, and we're having Sunday bars and stuff like that.
All right.
And one of your things you have on your profiles is a bunch of silly questions. So in order to kind of operate under my own principle theory, which is that if you want to get to know somebody, ask them a silly question.
Okay.
I thought I'd do that.
Sure.
So Alan, we'll start with. Do you believe that cats have souls? And if so, do you think that they have more souls than dogs do, or less?
That's an excellent and very silly question. So congratulations. I'm not a cat person so much as I am a dog person. So this is going to be difficult to be non-prejudicial. But I do believe that our companion animals have a spirit, that they have something inside that is special and specific to that heart-beating form of life. Okay, so soul, I don't know, but there is a spirit. I think that I hope that cats have more soul than dogs, because that would be the only explanation for why they're here. You know, with dogs, I love the unconditional love. I mean, I love opening that door, and I've got a golden retriever, and her tail is sweeping back and forth. Oh, good, 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 you're home, you're home, you're home. Yeah, and I have a cat too. So, yeah, I think that, and this is where I think the arts background gives us if we give ourselves permission, we can project ourselves into other beings and you know, and other lifestyles even. That, oh, so you have a higher understanding of that. And I think that's important for everybody, whether you're an engineer, especially an engineer, and or whether you're in the arts faculty. It's, you know, silly questions, and you better be able to consider silly answers like I just gave.
That was the best answer to a silly question ever. You made it weirdly relevant, which it probably shouldn't have been.
How did that happen?
You know better than to ask me the same question.
I'm not going to. Sarah, same question, but I'd like you to replace the word cat with the word guinea pigs and the word dog with the word emperor penguins.
I thought that emperor penguins reference was a joke.
No, it's not.
Okay. I have never owned either a guinea pig or an emperor penguin. I don't know how to answer this question. Well, so guinea pigs are companion animals too, so in that sense they probably have as much spirit as a dog, and I'm a cat person, so not as much as a cat. Emperor penguins, they seem solely based on survival, and they do a lot of really stupid things for their survival of the species. So I'm going to go ahead and say no, they're focusing solely on their base instinct.
They are narrated by Morgan Freeman, though.
Yes, Morgan Freeman definitely has a soul.
That changes the
They have a
context.
higher brand identity equity there.
Okay, so back to pertinent issues. Again, starting with Alan, I guess. How do you think the English major is currently viewed within the field of marketing these days? And I mean, you've spoken to it a little bit already, but what specific types of opportunities are available for someone with this educational background, and how do they relate to what you talk about a lot in your YouTube show and on your profiles and stuff online, which is the ongoing shifts in the field of marketing?
Yeah, and just so we all understand that with my opening provocative remark about marketing being dead and advertising not being important anymore in the 4 Ps, shift has happened, okay? And it's a major shift, and it started back in the early 90s, and I know I opened our internet division in 1994 because my own students had come to me with this background reference material, and I said, guys, you know about plagiarism? You know, this could be serious. You business students in 4th year, don't bring in false resources or references. Well, sir, actually, we got that from the internet. Oh, this is 1993. The internet, guys, that's for the Pentagon and maybe some university eggheads, but it's not for us. Well, no, sir, you can actually go on to bulletin boards. You guys are too chronologically immature to remember what bulletin boards are, but they were basically postings that you could go to and download things, information, bulletin boards. So once I found out that there really was a working internet, I said, ooh, I've got to be on that, and our clients have to be on that, because it's a relationship building tool, it's a communications tool. And at that point, I started to work with Dr. Goodwin, Dave Goodwin, and Dr. Jill Goodwin, because they had started their rhetoric program, and they were starting to help people learn about the language of the internet and digital body language. And we contributed to their first experience lab, which continues today, and now They're out with us in St. Jacobs, but we have about 110 people out there. And they have their REAP program, which is an acronym, and I don't know about it. But it's UW students, for the most part, building their own businesses by innovating old technology into new technology. So how are English students going to be viewed in the future by marketers? You are going to be golden, because there's a mistaken impression that content is king. Anyone heard that expression on the World Wide Web? Content is king. Content is king. No, it's not. Content is not king, because there's too much bad content. It's poorly written. Well, first of all, it's poorly conceived. It's not strategic.
Mm-hmm.
So right away, it's going to be bad and it's going to be off target. Secondly, all that content is sales stuff, whether it's brochureware or sales sheets or product-related things that are simply reformatted and put into blogs or other information website things that could be downloaded, and it's still written in the wrong voice, and it's written in the wrong register, and it's still trying to sell something. And we're so smart these days, we know right away. We can smell a sales pitch coming from 9 miles away, even though it's 9 inches away from us on a computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to change in terms of content with context. Context is king, which means it has to be well written, and it has to be from the point of view, a story from the point of view of the customer's interest. The product is not hero, the customer is. The customer is king. Context is the crown prince or princess. Content itself is like concrete to this campus. Oh, there's an open space. Let's pour some concrete across it, and we'll call it landscape architecture. And I was a student here in 1971. I couldn't believe the waste of space that was going on in the interest of building a campus.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad communications then. It's still bad communications. But now I'm getting rant-like, aren't I? In any case. So really, as you come out of a program that gives you, yes, some writing skills, hopefully, but better, some understanding of character, some understanding of story. Brands are stories. They are stories we tell ourselves to convince ourselves to buy something. They're stories that are shared amongst us because we don't believe in advertising anymore. We reference each other,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's online or in class or out at the bus stop. So if you have an affinity for that, you're in a good position.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, as of 2015, you may be 1 or 2 years early, but your time is coming. There's going to be a wave of just get us some people who can communicate.
Okay. And what's the sort of balance being struck there between communication and human empathy, which I think you're talking about a little bit as well?
Absolutely. I think they're conjoined. Without that empathy, without that feeling of what it's like to be that person looking to make a purchase, you're not going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started to write, when I started to communicate and build brands, I stood on the shoulders of E. Cummings, the poet. I stood on the shoulders of Ernest Hemingway. I stood on the shoulders of Kurt Vonnegut. So I could see, and talk about wacky and silly. If you haven't read Kurt Vonnegut
You're
yet.
not very tall, though. You wouldn't get that high.
True. And he smoked so much he was bent over. But the fact of the matter is, these are the people, you have new writers now that you should be saying, wow, I can take parts of that style. I can take parts of the rhythm. Because you see, great communications, whether it's written or filmed or sung, is rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And finding that is, wham, all of a sudden you've got people digging in and wanting to consume the content.
Okay. And Sarah, sort of on the similar lines, what did you feel you had to pick up professionally that you maybe didn't get from your education?
Just to speak to perceptions of English students out in the real world. In marketing, it's definitely, like you said, maybe 1 or 2 years early, but definitely shifting towards these are the people that we need. In other industries, you're still the barista who quotes Shakespeare while you're serving coffee, or the grocery store checkout person who changes it to 10 items or fewer. But in marketing, it's shifting because, as you said, the content marketing has grown so much that writing is in very high demand. And not just writing well, but writing, like you said, from a certain voice with a certain skill. What did you ask me?
My question was sort of, as you graduated and you went out into the real world, what did you feel that you needed to cultivate that maybe you weren't really prepared for through your education?
Digital marketing capabilities. It is really not hard and free to become educated in something like Google Analytics, AdWords, SEO, content keywords, things like that. There are courses online. Don't take an SEO course that doesn't show up on the first page of the Google results, just FYI. But there are all kinds of courses that you can take online especially that really will boost. You've got the communication, you've got that really good analytical background from the English degree, but just something to set you apart from everybody else when you go out and apply for jobs, because a lot of people are learning these things on the job. Like anyone who started 3, 4, 5 years ago is learning it right now on the job. If you want to set yourself apart from them, the best way to do it is to learn that now. So I would suggest the digital marketing capabilities. If you can, a little bit of computer programming doesn't hurt. No one will expect you to code anything. It's just really nice to be able to communicate with people on their level. So when I'm writing content for a website and we're talking about metadata and analytics and SEO tags and all of those things, I can speak to them and sound intelligent, which they definitely appreciate. And then the only other thing that I spent any time learning outside of the English was a little bit of design. Same thing. I am not a designer. Aesthetics is not where I live. I live in words. But being able to communicate on the same plane as a designer and explain the things that I'm looking for, the feeling that I'm trying to convey in their terms instead of mine, that's marketing. It's know your audience, right? So learning even the basics of something like the Adobe software package will help you set yourself apart and communicate with people more effectively.
Absolutely. Just to build on what Sarah said, and she's absolutely right, is the great philosopher Aretha Franklin. Aretha said back in the 60s, RESPECT, okay? Respect. And it's respect that's going to make you a great communicator. It's going to make you a great communicator inside the organization you're working with or within your own startup, and it's going to make a difference for attracting customers. If they feel that you are legitimately respecting them, they will want a conversation. So indeed, you're not advertising anymore, you're not selling, you are starting conversations. And you can only do that if you're speaking a similar or the same language, and if you're empathetic to what it is they're really looking for. What do they want to buy? There's lots of great stuff out there that we buy that has nothing to do with the actual product itself. I mean, one of the most obvious example, of course, is Starbucks. Is it's still 19 cents of some cost that goes into the cup, which is the same cost as the Tim Hortons cup. That's they're equal as a product, but as a brand, there's no comparison between the brands. And Starbucks has done a magnificent job in the architecture of that brand, not necessarily just in the engineering. And Schultz, the guy who took Starbucks to where it is now, fired a huge consulting firm because they came in with their report in front of the board, which they were being paid $1 million for. And they referred to Starbucks, well, we did a survey of your coffee shops, and I guess Howard Schultz kind of sat up like coffee shops. And the people that work behind the counters and work the cash register, we, you know, kind of studied them. And Howard was like, time out. How long did you do this study? Oh, we were out there, sir, for 6 months. We want to make sure you get your $1 million worth of consulting. And Howard said, I'm sorry, you're fired. Right in front of the board. You're fired. You're done. But we're Boston. I mean, I'm sorry. We're an unnamed consultant. You can't. This I don't understand. Okay, if you're really saying that you were out there visiting our ecosystem with our baristas, and you come back here and you say coffee shops and counter people, you don't get it. I don't believe you were out there. We have a culture built around a cup of coffee, which is about an experience for our customers. And you guys didn't pick up on that. We don't need to hear any more. Whatever advice you have for us, it will be misguided. Whoa. So, there you go. That's an organization that lives its brand as much as possible. They'll have breakdowns, but they've built, I'm not a Starbucks fan, by the way, I'm just referring to them. They have built a trust account with their customers so that if there is a breakdown while you're ordering or whatever, there's a withdrawal from the Starbucks trust account in your head. But the next time you go and they get it right and the music is good and the whole feeling is there and you feel like you're kind of part of the Starbucks community or a tribal thing, boom, they get it back. Tim Hortons, they don't care about that. They care about you getting your coffee and getting on the road as fast as possible. Doesn't make them a bad brand, they're quite a powerful brand. But it's different, and they have different positions in the minds and the experiences of customers. So, you know, it's going to take people who understand that. Now, I teach fourth year business at Laurier, and I love my students. I have 66 of them right now. And I keep asking them to think differently. Think differently, which is the premise of the Apple Computer Company back when the two Steves started it, was think differently. They didn't start out to build a better personal computer. They started out to build something completely different. Okay? So, with business students, I ask them, please widen the vision. And remember, it's about people. It isn't about these formulas that you've been studying for the last 4 years. Good to know, are you actually going to use them? You'll use them a lot less than you will people skills. And brands are about people, how they think and how they feel about a product. So you go from a product to a brand to a tribe. And whether that be Apple or it used to be BlackBerry or whatever, that's the type of thing you're building.
Very interesting. So far we've been talking largely about the general trends of, I don't want to say marketing now because I'm scared. Sorry. Integrated communications.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
I know that this might seem like overly specific, but I think it might give some value to the students to hear a little bit about specific strategies based upon particular sectors. I thought maybe I'd start with Sarah. You work for Skyline, which is a real estate holdings company.
Yeah, I work specifically for the Skyline Real Estate Limited Partnership. We call it Skyline Living. It's the one that owns and operates all of our apartment buildings in something like 50 communities across Ontario. Plus, we just bought a building in Quebec. Now everything has to be in French. Very
Oh boy.
So speaking to specific sectors.
Yeah, basically sort of how does the real estate sector require certain specific strategies in contrast to maybe other sectors?
Sure. What's funny is that you think that the real estate sector, and you think, okay, well, we advertise a certain way in the real estate sector. It's not even remotely true because we have senior buildings and student buildings and mature adult buildings and mixed buildings in different cities. Some are like bigger, like Hamilton, or we have ones in Tilbury, which I don't actually even know where it is, but we have buildings there. That way? Okay. So what you have to really know is who the audience is that you're trying to reach with the strategy for those specific buildings. And it can go down to specific buildings. We've even we've created strategies for specific units in specific buildings because it has a really nice view or a really awkward layout or the second bedroom's really tiny so it doesn't actually even count. You have to advertise those ones specifically in a certain way. So student buildings, for example, you guys are students, you all use Kijiji to look for apartments. Everyone nodding it, yeah. So we have to focus a lot on that, and you mostly care about price and location. So advertising on something like Tab Mapper, which is map-based and shows you exactly the proximity of the apartment to your school, very important to you. Something like a senior building, well, they still read the classifieds, and they use the phone, and they want to talk to people face-to-face. Student buildings, we have text for info if you want to, like where you can text in for availability, things like that. So the strategies that you use get really specific based on the audience that you're trying to reach, and I think that's part of why the English, even I would say any arts major is so good at marketing and advertising, because we're really good at discerning who we're speaking to and what voice is most appropriate and what information they need. And we always say at Skyline, it's not just an apartment, it's a community. We're not selling we're not renting apartments, right? We are renting a home, a place for you to feel safe and secure, a place for you to come home and have your dog and you have your cat and you have your kitchen, and like it's not about the product, it's about how the customer experiences that product. So the strategies that we do are all entirely based on that in different demographics and cities.
Now, Alan, your company specializes, according to its website, on companies who are experiencing either rapid growth or a period of disruption.
Yes.
How does that affect your strategies?
Well, and again, building on Sarah's point, now because of technology, we can narrowcast. It used to be about broadcasting, whether it be, we used to call it the mass media. You would buy newspapers, you would buy radio stations, you would buy TV stations, and then it started to get narrower and narrower. But now, because of the technology we have, we can narrowcast. We can find you pretty easily. So you be aware of that. For example, if you walk into a retail store this weekend, chances are they have an RFID reader scanner, and as you walk around the store, they are learning more and more about you because they can read your credit card information as you're shopping, and that's apparently quite legal. So you can now buy wallets or purses or whatever that are RFID protected, which I now have one. And it's not that I was...
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, not that I was afraid before, but I just thought, I'd rather screw with somebody's head. Hey, why can't we read anything about this character? So, in terms of our specialty, we're looking for the shift disturbers, okay? We're looking for the shift disturbers because that's where the action is. And you don't recruit and retain the kind of talent that we've been able to over the years unless it's an exciting environment to be in, unless every day is different, unless the clients are challenging, not being jerks. I mean, you can have clients that are jerks and you go, oh, and you fire them. And you make more money actually after you fire a bad client. It's never worked out badly for us. But, so what we're looking for are those people that are either experiencing on a growth curve like this, or are, in the words of Jeffrey Moore, are ready to jump the curve, are ready to say, okay, well, this was a great ride, bookstores and record stores and travel agencies, but we need to go somewhere else. So you look at Amazon and you see somebody that creates their own curves and then leaves them behind and leaps forward. I mean, Amazon started out to disintermediate bookstores by getting you a book in 3 to 5 days. Yeah, and we thought, wow, this is fabulous, until, oh, wait a minute, why does it take 3 to 5 days to get my book? I mean, jeepers, I needed that book yesterday. So meanwhile, Amazon is continuing to close and close and close the operational loop, so you were getting a book the next day or 2 days later. Well, that's pretty good. Except, we say, because we're so spoiled, and we're promiscuous as consumers. So if somebody else could get us it faster, we'd go there. So then Amazon says, well, what about this digital thing? What about, Steve Jobs and his downloading music? What if we could download books? What if we could do that? So they do. So today is Friday? Tuesday night, 12:30 in the morning. I'm reading a mystery story set in the UK. It's fabulous. It ends at 12:30 in the morning, Wednesday morning now. And I say, I'm not ready to sleep. I need another book. And I'm on my, Kindle. So I say to myself, well, you just go ahead, Al. Get yourself a new book. Whoa, we over there. Bing, same author. I mean, it suggests all the things along the bottom, right? It anticipates what I might be interested in. Well, my friends, within 37 seconds, I'm reading a new book. Thank you very much. And sooner or later, not much later, I'm going to get tired of that. Give me something else. Mm-hmm. Anybody heard of Netflix? Anybody remember Blockbuster? Used to be down the street here on University Avenue and everywhere else. Mm-hmm. They're gone. They're roadkill. Commercially, they're like that fuzzy ball of gore sitting over to the side of the road. They're gone because they didn't jump the curve. They couldn't see it happening. So that's why we like to be with firms like that.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
We're addicted to adrenaline.
I think that really speaks to the culture in sort of integrated communications today, in that maybe 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, businesses would create a strategy, and that would be their strategy for 6 months, a year, however long they decided that strategy would be for, to achieve some sort of goal at the end of 1 year. Now, strategies, they shift every day, if not hourly, sometimes. So we're not living in a static, sell the product, customer happy, make money world anymore. We're living in a constantly shifting realm of technology, and the possibilities are, to be cliche, endless and complicated.
Yeah, and in the old days, if you were to join a marketing organization in a marketing role or a creative role, in a communications role, you might as well have been joining the Navy. It was pretty well regulated. Well, now you're a pirate. Now you're a buccaneer on the wild, wild waves of everyday adventure. Okay? So you guys, because, you're coming out of great narratives, you're coming out of great stories, and you can go, woohoo! I love this! My business students don't love it. Linear is also dead. It's buried. Go to the services, worship, or at least respect the elderly and the past, the deceased. That's what linear is now. Mm-hmm. It's just simply an obituary. So you got to be lateral. You got to be imaginative. You got to freebase. And I think arts people are freebasers. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because that's where we're comfortable, and we'll be recognized for that. We'll be recognized as people who, this is such a stupid expression. Whoever thought of it? People who think outside the box aren't going to succeed. People who say, "What freaking box?" are going to succeed. There's no box. More importantly, people who say, what box, and then do something, actually do something, write something, create something, participate in something, these are the people that are going to have great careers because they'll never have a job.
And when Corey's hiring new talent, for example, I'm guessing based on what you're describing that a lot of what you're looking for you're going to find in the interview. But maybe what are you going to look for on a resume?
Nothing. I don't believe in resumes. The only, really, they're junk. They're poorly written for the most part. They're bad marketing and sales. They're self-serving, and I, I had one at one time. So I don't spend a lot of time on resumes. I will look through what do they now tell people, a page or a page and a half. I don't care how long it is anymore. I'll look through and see if that person has experience working as a camp counselor, working in a fast food restaurant, or a server, or in retail. I want to talk to somebody who's dealt with people. Okay? A camp counselor to me are gods. I mean, they know how to make things happen. They do take responsibility. And the only thing in the interviews I look for is curiosity / enthusiasm. Our business, and you'll find this no matter how structured an office you go into, is it really is about the dynamics, and it is about who can learn the fastest about the most important stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in any business, you got to be able to forget faster than you learn. Like, just forget the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how long you spent researching it.
Right, yeah, sorry.
So along the same lines, Sarah, you chose to do a post-grad program.
Yes.
And you mentioned that that was one way that you felt that you were prepared. Could you elaborate a little bit on how it prepared you?
Well, the particular post-grad program that I did, the most valuable piece of it was the client work that we did. In our first semester, we did your the 8 Ps. It's 8 Ps now.
Yes.
And we did, strategy and branding and consumer research and all of these fun groundwork sort of things. But the absolute best part of the first semester, we did a team client project. We got a client in the real world, and we put together an integrated marketing communications plan for them. I'll brag a little bit. We were the only group that was actually hired to implement the plan out during school, so that was pretty exciting. They paid us real money and everything to do what we said we were going to do, and fortunately it worked. So, but what the value there was real client work, and then I had portfolio pieces, which unfortunately the university sort of lacks. Essays don't do well in portfolios, just so you know. And then in second semester, we did an internship opportunity. So once a week, we went and worked with our client. My particular client it's called Create Region. It was a new organization in Waterloo region that was dedicated to bringing sort of the digital communication and technology aspects and monetizing those, which is one thing that they have a real problem with. They were doing an event to launch the brand and the program to the region. So I did an integrated marketing communications plan for them. And again, it had an accelerated timeline, so I was actually able to implement most of the plan before the end of my 4 months with them. And had portfolio pieces, had communication pieces, and made a lot of contacts, which is also incredibly important in marketing and advertising. You say the resume is dead, but LinkedIn so far is not.
Oh, I love LinkedIn.
Please use
That's
LinkedIn.
where you gotta go.
I have business cards. Add me to LinkedIn. We can chat. LinkedIn, very important. So building a network through that was really exciting for me. And in second semester, we also did a live event, like a real event. We did a charity event at DVLB, which is down on King Street. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. We did a mall event for Fairview Park Mall. They hired our Conestoga College program to put on their Green at Work event for them last year. We planned a gala. All of these things, real world experience, was what I was looking for in the college program, which is something that sort of university lacks a little bit. I couldn't have done it without university, but I'm definitely glad that I had it. So that's why I chose the postgrad program, was for that real world but safe academic experience. So that was the most valuable part for me.
Mm-hmm. And Alan, from Corey's perspective, any difference between a candidate with a lot of professional experience or with a marketing degree, for example?
Well, we love students that have finished a degree and then have taken a year specialty. We've hired a lot of folks from Humber because of their PR and corporate communications course. So They're Laurier grads, they're U of W grads, they're Guelph grads. For the most part, we tend to hire regionally. I don't know why, maybe it's just a comfort level thing. But again, if you've gone to a community college and taken a relevant course, I think that does give you a bit of an edge in terms of just coming out of a university. At least that's the trend I've seen within our own company. And actually I helped do the architecture on the IMC course at Conestoga probably 9 or 10 years ago with John Tibbetts. And part of my passion delivered there was make this practical, make this real. Don't get too involved in theory because the theory will disappear, it will vaporize. And what use is that? They've already come from a 3 or 4 year university degree and they know the theory. Give them some practice. You know, it's kind of like moving up into a sports team. You play in the minor leagues maybe or whatever, and you kind of get your experience, then you're ready for stardom. Okay.
So I would very much like to have time to address questions from the audience, but I thought we'd maybe close with this very, very cheesy essentialization question.
Easy question?
Silly question.
If there's one piece of advice that you would give to our grads, Alan, start us off. What would it be? To the people in this room who want a job in marketing.
I want a job in marketing, yeah. Just do it. Like I'm sorry. The theme, the slogan for Nike, "Just Do It," came from Phil Knight, who founded the company by building running shoes for his own athletes at the university. He was walking with Dan Wyden, who is the president and founder of Wyden and Kennedy, who does all the Nike advertising and many other companies as well. But as they were walking around the track, not the Nike track at that time, they didn't have one, but they were walking around a track, and Knight was telling Wyden, Dan Wyden, all the things that had been happening since their meeting a week before. And Wyden said, "Man, you guys just do it." And that's what stuck, was they caught the essence of that culture, which was, screw it, let's do it, which is the Richard Branson line, but screw it, let's do it. And I think as you come into the future, just grab a hold of it. Don't be afraid of it. Well, you can be afraid of it, just don't fear it.
Healthy fear.
Healthy fear, rational. But the riskiest thing you can do right now in your lives is to play it safe. The riskiest thing you can do is to play it safe. So if you're a graduate coming out of the arts, take a freaking baseball bat with you and get out there and make some impact. There's nothing stopping you. It's not against the law to be brilliant. It's not against the law. Well, maybe in the Harvard years it is. But there it is. Like do something.
And Sarah, same question.
Oh, that was very up here. I'm going to go more job searching level. Networking. Absolutely A+ number one, networking. You never know where your next job's going to come from. You never know where your next lead's going to come from. Someone who works in manufacturing in Etobicoke might say, "Oh, hey, I know someone hiring for marketing in Toronto. Any interest?" These people are going to start emailing you and calling, if you're lucky, and calling you and letting you know when opportunities are available, and then you pay it back and mentor someone else and network with people on all levels. Because like I said, you never know what's going to happen, and this is a business where who you know matters so much. So yeah, from a job search perspective, if you're interested in a job in marketing and advertising, go to events like this one. Go to the P4E job fair, or you can become a student member of the CMA, or you can join groups on LinkedIn and network digitally. There are so many opportunities. Alumni events are great too. There are so many opportunities you have to network with people who may be able to help you, and I think that's probably the most important thing from a job search perspective.
Very good advice.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience for Alan or Sarah?
I love Canadian audiences because there won't be a question.
It was very overwhelming.
Yes, sir.
All right, for Alan. So,
Jake.
what's sort of the value of arts in entrepreneurship? Because I know kind of, going through that process, there's all the stereotypes. Well, entrepreneurs are engineers and they're business people and whatnot. So I'm just interested in your opinion on what the value of arts, and is that sort of a career path for people in arts to consider?
Oh, definitely. I think some of the best. Now I work at Communitech as an entrepreneur in residence. So I have 23 clients right now who I'm helping get their startups going. It's a great hobby of mine. Anyway, it's very intensive. And Poet, which Chase is with, is one of my clients. So, yes, there are some mech engineers that have come up with some fascinating things, whether it be the robotics, whether it be Thalmic and their Mayo and the gesture technology. Mike Litt at Vidyard, again, is a mech engineering grad from here. I mean, those guys right now are getting a lot of attention. But there's also, Natalie McNeil is a graduate of the arts program here. And she has this network now that she's monetized called She Takes on the World. And it's a global company. She's written 2 books. She is one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. And she will be a global personality on the scale of your Oprah or your thing. I mean, she'll become this brand and become very well known because she's going to deliver value to a specific audience. And in this case, that specific audience are women entrepreneurs. She's an arts grad. I have maybe, out of those clients, half of them come from the arts field because they're thinking up stuff that people could use because they understand a little bit about something about people. So I think right now, yes, there's a wave of, well, you've got to be an engineer to be a successful entrepreneur. No, you don't. In some cases it helps, but in other cases it's about the idea. And the ROI, which business people think of, is return on investment. But the thing in the new economy, which is emerging, is return on idea, return on imagination. And that is what's going to fuel a different sort of business model, a different sort of capitalism. Because, again, right now, capitalism is so freaking broken that it has to go away. We will make it go away. Make it violent, but we will make that model disappear somehow. And something else will emerge, and it will be the arts people and the ideas and the culture that creates the new world order will be caring and sharing, as opposed to the Cook brothers and their mountain hideaway, the evil bastards. What was the question?
Arts and entrepreneurs.
Oh, yes. Arts people are golden. And again, I work at Laurier, and I work with their Launchpad. I've been an entrepreneur in residence there too. I'm going to say that 8 out of 10 of the Launchpad projects are from arts and science, not engineering or anything. They're actually coming from music as well. We've got a couple of really strong music people who are launching businesses.
Anyone else?
Yeah, talking about branding, what are some methods you could take to self-brand? To kind of promote your own personality and your own self?
Sure. When I started looking for a job, I made myself business cards, an online portfolio, the LinkedIn portfolio. I went through basically the same process that a business would go through. What is my USP? What should my logo look like? What are my brand colors? How do I put my personality into that? So I'll hand my business cards out later, but they're black on the front and pink on the back. You don't see that very often, but I established a brand that I hope, is consistent across multiple platforms. So throughout my work, online, on paper, my paper portfolio, which I wish I had brought you, is branded in exactly the same fashion. And then take that one step further. on LinkedIn. Start commenting on articles that interest you. Mark yourself out as an intelligent contributor to the community. Speak to people, go to things, build that brand for yourself, and try and be known, at least within a certain circle. And consistency across all platforms is really key. So please don't say that you're, proficient at proofreading and editing on one page and then have spelling errors on another page. That's just going to confuse people and annoy me. But
I don't think I would be confused.
like, what do you mean? But yeah, building that personal brand, and to a certain extent, I'm what they call an extroverted introvert. You do have to get out of your own space and out of your own head a little bit, at least to start building those connections, but it's just so valuable that you can't pass up that opportunity. So
I'm in total agreement with Sarah that LinkedIn is your most valuable career building tool. It is wonderful.
are we going to connect on LinkedIn after?
We are going to connect on LinkedIn. Sure. Yeah. And, you can build a brand starting with LinkedIn. And as Sarah says, join the right groups, contribute. Do not use your prom picture or either male or female on your LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is not Facebook.
LinkedIn is not Facebook. So you don't post frivolous stuff there. You share business-related things or what you're passionate about, and that's what you do. Twitter, you pretty much have to start thinking about what your future audience is, like employers are going to want to see on your Twitter feed. They're not going to be so interested in just the buzz kill between you and your friends. They want to see that you're contributing articles or connecting relevant links.
Pictures of your food, not so important.
No. And yeah, they'll scan if they can through your Facebook page. But I know we only look at LinkedIn and Twitter. Yeah, the other stuff we're not that interested in.
And if you're specifically interested in social media management as sort of an area that you're headed towards, or community engagement, is that what they call it
Yep.
now? Then you should be on all of the major platforms, and you should be tailoring your posts to each of those platforms, not just posting the same thing on every single one, because even if you only use it until you get a job, they're going to want to know that you know how all of those platforms work and that you understand what their audience is.
Remember that you really are the first digital natives. By the time you were playing with toys, some of them were digital. People who are 25 are not digital natives. People who are 30 are not digital natives. You are. That means something. Leverage it. It's an advantage. It's a benefit that you can offer to employers.
Anybody else?
I'm not on LinkedIn yet, but what are some communities to join to kind of get a good start on there?
Anyone that Alan is in.
I spent a lot of time thinking about LinkedIn and what it can mean to my business and what it can mean to me. So what I love about LinkedIn, actually there are two very generous organizations out there. LinkedIn is one of them, and they will give you all sorts of really easy tips and online seminars or whatever to help you build yourself on LinkedIn. They're very good at that. I think the last year they've really increased their interest in us. The other one is HubSpot. If you're interested in a career in marketing, communications, branding, HubSpot, HUBSPOT. They are out of Boston, and they are very Apple-like in terms of sharing and caring. The stuff that they put out there that you can download for free. Yeah.
I just got it was a PowerPoint file of 20 infographic templates from them that you can just fill in with
Bingo.
whatever information you want.
Yeah.
For free. Well, I had to give them my email address, but.
We always have that Hotmail address or that Gmail address that you
Or
can.
HubSpot at literallysarah.com. can get rid of it at any time.
Yeah. So those are great learning tools. And then I think another great learning tool that will help in career building is Fast Company. If you get a chance, go just subscribe for free to Fast Company. It's a magazine that is now kind of more of a digital presence. My goodness, every week is something better and more relevant to thinking, and they don't write it just for whiz kids. It's not just for Poindexters, if you will. This is for everybody. You know, it's really fabulously done. I love it.
Anyone else?
What do you think the value is in art students getting marketing and communications co-ops before they're done, before they're graduated?
Wow. Boom.
Practical experience sells, yeah. I don't know if the co-op program has gotten better since I was here, but there weren't a lot of English co-op opportunities
Oh,
before.
there's
There are a lot.
Yeah?
There's tons.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, our co-op students are all over the place. Yeah, any major employer in the region, we've had co-ops there over the
Excellent.
loads of opportunities, and that's not just our RPW folks, that's our lit folks as well, and our lit and rec folks. No, the co-ops have been really good, and our English majors, come talk to me, I'm the undergrad advisor, Jay, if you're interested in co-op, or anything. But no, our English co-op students are taking jobs away from engineers, computer scientists. They're very competitive in co-op. For the reasons, all the reasons that you've been saying. Co-op employers are looking for communicators.
And personality.
We have a nice anti-engineer sub-theme going today.
David
That was
Johnson,
good.
the former president here, once hired me. He phoned me up and said, Alan, I need you to do something. And he never said no to David. So you said, okay, fine. He said, I want you, we've got lots of engineers graduating, they're becoming entrepreneurs, they know nothing about business, they know nothing specifically about marketing. Would you teach a 8-week course to 10 engineers and I'll give you some money? I did, and I gave him his money back. And well, first of all, I said, you can't give the money back. I don't know what to do with it. There's no process to give the money back. So I ended up sponsoring the golf team for one season. But he said, well, why are you so upset you're giving the money back? I said, because they didn't learn a damn thing. They wouldn't. Linear. Well, if you do A and B, then it must equal C, right? No. No, what we do is voodoo. It's a combination of science and magic. There's no formula, there's no algorithm.
I'm putting that on my wall at work.
Okay. What was the question?
There was a question.
Yeah, I had a question. We've spoken a bit about entrepreneurship. We've also spoke about personal branding and getting started. But so combining those things, what are the major focuses then for small businesses or businesses that are just starting to really get started on an integrated communication program or branding or something like that? What are their major focuses?
There's a concept that is more than a concept. It's a real thing, and it's called growth hacking. And growth hacking is really the combination of, technology, imagination, and testing. Okay, so it allows you as a small business to be so mobile and so agile that you can be changing. You can be changing the way you're communicating to, as Sarah said earlier, a very narrow cast of prospects. And you can do this now for free. It doesn't cost you anything to manipulate, I shouldn't say that, to leverage the advantages of the various media vehicles. So it's so exciting. I love growth hacking. And I've got 2 startups going right now, and we're not spending a dime on marketing or advertising. We're investing our imaginations on how do we make sure that this messaging is going to be consumed in the way we want it consumed, and that behavior will change. We don't care about attitude. 70s and 80s in this business was all about influencing attitude. It's about behavior now. Okay? So if I was starting out as an entrepreneur and self-branding, I would be taking a good hard look, and there's a couple of really great books and websites available on growth hacking. Steal what you can, and then make it your own, and wow, growth hacking.
Yes, what?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I don't know anything about blogging, but where would you say is the best place to start a blog? Is there any particular site that's better than others?
Well, my blogs are hosted on WordPress, and they're hosted on WordPress because WordPress is the easiest one to use, and infinitely customizable if you have even a modicum of programming knowledge. But I would say the value of your blog is not inherently in itself, but in where you get linked to and from. It's in creating content that is shareable. You need likes, follows, and shares to build that blog up to any kind of standing. So if someone links to your blog from another blog, and it's posted on your LinkedIn, and then someone copies that from LinkedIn and they post an article that you wrote on LinkedIn and it links back to your blog, that's where the value in the blog is. So it's not so much in where it's hosted, but about how it's used. Tumblr is not great. I wouldn't recommend it. I would stick with WordPress, especially to start. But if you can get your blog hosted on another website or guest blog for sites that have higher search engine rankings, higher credibility in the industry, then that's where you're going to get a lot of value out of blogging. Although I find it cathartic, I blog for the sheer purpose of blogging and not expecting anybody to read it. So.
You may want to consider a vlog, which is,
Oh, yeah.
just go right to video instead of, the written word. You can do some very interesting things with video these days and create your own show. It's kind of fun. And people like to, you know what? Television has become now the internet, and the internet became television 5 years ago. I mean, there's this blending now. There's this integration of visual media, and YouTube is right smack dab in the middle. Because somehow, as humans, we like to watch. We are voyeurs. And I mean that in the sense of, remember America's Funniest Videos when it was on television? Why the hell did people watch that? Why do we watch kitten videos? Why do we watch, people pouring ice water over their heads? Because we like to watch.
But only in short segments.
But short segments, yeah. So when you're thinking of starting a blog, if it's about sharing ideas, there are all sorts of different ways of sharing ideas, which the consumer will connect to. It doesn't have to be the written word.
Yeah, you mentioned some valuable skills to have is in sales and people skills behind the counter or just in general. What about skills in like small scale publishing or small scale editing or something like just some basic graphic design? Are those also valuable in this?
I think the more that you can do, the better off you will be, especially in terms of your job search. If you think about something like, I know a lot of people who started off in small, not-for-profit, they want you to be able to do everything because they don't have the money to hire more than one person. So the more that you as an individual can do for a company, the more problems that you can solve, the more valuable you are as an asset, the more marketable you are. So, yeah.
Yeah. We're all expected to be publishers now. We're journalists and we're publishers, and hopefully we're being responsible about the content that we publish. But I'm going to make a prediction that in 10 years, maybe less than that, my organization will be half the size, people-wise, and twice as successful. Because it's no longer about headcount, it's no longer about job descriptions and departments. It's about talent, and I'm working with people in Prague right now who are doing animation that is the best in the world. The only other client they have right now It's a little guy by the name of George Lucas, which I think he makes movies from time to time. But they're so good in their animation, and they work when we're asleep, and they work at about a third of the cost of what I can get stuff done for in Toronto or here. So I mean, you're now going to become you're global talent now. And the Europeans, I mean, 50%, 60% of our business comes from the United States. 20% of it comes from Europe. European companies love Canadians because we're polite. We're a little bit more laid back than our friends to this end. Okay? We don't have the baggage that somebody from Chicago or New York or Los Angeles. That's just a fact.
If I could just speak to, you said how job descriptions are effectively meaningless in the organization. They're also effectively meaningless when you're applying for a job.
Yes.
The job that I applied for at Skyline was marketing administrative assistant. I applied for it because I was like, oh, well, if I don't get any other interviews, this one's pretty basic. I can handle this job. I went to the interview and we talked for 2 hours in the interview. And my boss and I spoke later. We decided that, yeah, no, that was not a good place for me. So she created one, which is the advertising coordinator role that I'm in. I now have the marketing administrative assistant working under me because that job description was so not suitable to me, but I was so suitable to the department that we worked around it. So when you're applying, yeah, the job descriptions that you see, like everything changes so quickly, they're meaningless. Other duties as assigned is your job description. That's it. And the skills and qualifications they're not meaningless, but they're not as important as the HR department will make them out to be. So if they say you need 3 years experience and university education and you don't have the experience, try anyway. And leverage it in your cover letter. What have you done? What can you bring to the table? What's new and different about you? And don't focus too much on the details when you're applying.
Sell the benefits, not the features. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Your employer is tuned to the most popular radio station in the world, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Why should I hire you? Well, sometimes they should hire you because you're going to push them up the ladder. Think about that. I'm going to make you successful. Oh, excellent. Is there any ice cream left?
Yeah, why don't we call it a talk? Sorry, Jay, please.
No, I just wanted to make an announcement, but you go ahead and wrap up.
Oh, okay. I think we just need to thank UW Media Resources. We need to thank our volunteers, Caitlin, Phoenix, and Janice, the department for putting this all together, Jay and Fraser in particular, and Margaret, and obviously Alan and Sarah for coming out. We have this room until 4:20, and we have a lot of ice cream left over that I don't want to explain to my boss that he paid for that people didn't eat. So please hammer away at it. Dibs, yeah. And Jay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, well, thank you to Andrew. There will be more career talks, so stay tuned. There's a mixer Tuesday, February 24th from 5:30 to 7:30, sponsored by the English Student Society and the English Peer Mentors, and that's at the Bomber. Please come. I'm also going to, while you're mingling, write my email address up here. So if you're interested in all of the ways that everything we talked about here is part of English at Waterloo, talk to me about that. Thank you.